Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Twisted Word Show. Mariana and I are back again, and today we are going to talk about.
Characters and the different types of characters. Hello, everybody.
Well,
So, as Yash mentioned, we're talking about the different characters that you can get in your story. So, we thought we'll go through a list of a few that we could think of that we would like to mention. So, let's start out with the most obvious one, your protagonist, who is your main character. Yash, do you want to describe the protagonist and explain a bit about it?
Yes, absolutely. So, the protagonist is essentially going to be the center of your story. Obviously, you need a character, you need a main character, and your protagonist is that main character. You can have multiple protagonists in your story driving the story forward, but obviously, the characters who are going to be most inside your story, appearing in many places and everything. So, they are going to be your protagonist, and the very center of your story, the entire story is going to revolve around them. They will be the one who will be facing some kind of conflict. They might be one fighting the danger or overcoming an obstacle or solving a mystery. And that is who your protagonist would be. Mariana, what do you think is going to contrast this protagonist?
That would be your antagonist, because nobody's life is perfect and you cannot possibly like everybody. Although an antagonist can be likable, but they can still deal with a lot of trouble for you. They bring conflict and tension into your story, which actually hopefully helps your protagonist to grow. Um, maybe in the way they respond to them, or the situation caused by the antagonist might cause your protagonist to grow and
Yes. Which is always the goal of the story, right?
yes, exactly. So next we have your dynamic character. Um, so this is a person that throughout the story shows significant internal change. They add depth to a story and complexity, making it more believable. Yash, can you think of an example of a dynamic character?
Yes, so dynamic character would be obviously when is it that you change? When is it that you have some kind of a transformation? It's always when you uh, come out of some kind of conflict or you face something very profound in your life, and that makes you recalculate everything that you've done to this point, and makes you think and makes you wonder about the choices that you've made, or makes you evaluate about the kind of person that you are now compared to how you were in the past. And all of that combined leads you to become a new person. And that could be happening to your character, making the transformation dynamic and making the character himself be a like one. And then, in
Yes.
contrast to that, we have a static character who is the ideal one, who is the way that he is. And instead, what he's doing in the story is uh, for example, he could be solving a mystery. So every time character solves a mystery, he doesn't need to transform internally or have some kind of an epiphany after every mystery solved. He could be the way that he is and just do his thing. Right, Mariana? What are your
Yeah, I mean, he might know everything already and, be clever enough. He doesn't have to train.
exactly? So the dynamic and static characters are something that you should consider for your story, whether you want your characters to have some kind of a transformation or whether they are perfect the way they are, and instead they're solving some uh, problem that's in their life or in some other person's life.
Yeah, pretty much like Sherlock Holmes. Like, he's already good at solving mysteries, so he doesn't have to get better at it. So that part is very static, but maybe shows growth in his friendships rather than solve his mystery. So
Exactly.
it's not just that there's no growth. It's just in a different field. It doesn't have to be with every aspect of his life that it should be
Exactly.
growth.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly.
So next we have a foil character. Do you want to give us an example and a little description of a foil character?
The foil character would be somebody who is providing a viewpoint to contrast your protagonist from. The actions of the foil character might help you understand the values that the main character or the protagonist embraces better. Because, for example, a character who is bullying an innocent one, and then our protagonist goes ahead and helps rescue that person, shows us how he values the friendship and how he is kind to people and everything like that. So, an example, Mariana, what about an example for this character?
So if I think um, of my Beulah series, the animal stories, I was trying to think who could be that character that shows you why this character behaves the way they do, the main character. And I think if you've read it, you might agree, or you might think it's one of the others, that that chicken, she's enough to drive anybody up, completely nuts. But the way Beulah the goat responds to her, also, I think it affects how she does other things. For example, if she does something good, it's basically to show the hen, that she's capable of doing this. So if that's her only motivation, it's just for her to know that she can do it. Um, so I think a foil character often is the reason why you do things. I don't know if I'm making sense. No, I think that they force you to do things just for the sake of doing it, even if it's just to prove a point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be an actual act of doing things, maybe just an observation or just the existence of the foil character itself in the story. Because essentially, you are the reader and you will obviously know about the protagonist as well, and as well the scenes that are going to take place with the foil character. So you are going to
Yeah.
understand that, okay, this guy did that and this happened, but the good guy or our protagonist did this and that, which led to whatever that it led to. And it makes you value the kind of things that made the story lead to whatever conclusion. And I, I, I literally said whatever would. Anyway, we hope we are making sense. So, what's our next type of character, Mariana?
You get your monitor or your guide who advises and shows wisdom and training to your main character. Um, and they support your main character's development. This could be, for example, um, I think we mentioned it before, like if you have a teacher advising the student, and
Yeah.
maybe the student looked up to this person and they had a big decision to make, and this teacher was the one to guide them, on their
Or
way
maybe
to do their
just the,
or,
yes, it could be the parents even.
or parents, even a friend, or I'm thinking of Lord of the Rings. What was the wizard's name? Can you imagine me forgetting the wizard's name?
Gandalf.
Gandalf, of course. Sorry. Yeah, the way he helped
Yes.
the main character to go on his path, this quest, and so he's a good example of that. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So these are the different kind of the cast that you can hire for your story to create the beautiful masterpiece that you are all writing. And it is,
And you need a hen, and you need a goat. What else do we? A spider eating person, and Sherlock. And yeah, we need him. He's on top of the list.
oh,
And then we need supporting characters.
Yeah, the supporting characters, which is going to be our next type of characters that we'll discuss. Supporting characters can be the friends of the protagonist, the ones who accompany the protagonist in his quest and keeps him going. They could be someone who motivates the character or helps him reflect on his choices, and so on. What are your thoughts about it, Mariana?
Yes. Um, and yeah, this person doesn't necessarily have to have a major viewpoint or something drastic happening to them. They just there to move the story along. There's if again, if I think of the Beulah series, she has this best friend who's scared of his own shadow, but he often helps her to do the right thing and to grow in who she is. And yeah, so it doesn't have to be this, this charismatic, loud person. It can be a minor role, a quiet person that you
But
need.
it often happens that sometimes the readers end up liking the side characters more than
Yeah.
the protagonist because of just how connected.
Story.
Yes. So the next one, which we are going to talk about, is going to be a flat character. What are your thoughts about this funny little flat character, Ariana?
Well, I think the name says it all. It's not anyone very interesting. Um, I think they play a very minor role in your story. It say more their background than anything else. Just to give you some background on your character.
Or just someone who is there to do something, for the main character to do something, and they are just an element in the story that are being used to carry a narrative forward, but not anything significant.
Exactly. And now, opposite to that, I think is the round character. So we have a flat character and a round.
This is okay. You total opposites. Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the round character?
Well, first he needs to go on a diet. Anyway, so a round so the round character is going to be a multifaceted character who is complex. He could be unpredictable, and maybe he could be relatable or something that you feel very distant from. It just has to be somebody who is very interesting, but not as important to the story as the protagonist is, and maybe has no direct correlation, but is there to add the mystery and intrigue to the story.
Yes, that's well put. Um, it keeps the story engaging as well. Um,
Mm. Or he very well could be a main. Heck, he could be a main character in the story, could be an important one, but what he's going to do is, like you said, add interest and intrigue to the story and make the story more complicated and interesting for the readers and the plot.
yes, yes, and unpredictable. Like you're not quite sure what they'll do next.
Yes, because you don't know what a character who is not your main character or the villain, or a character who is a side character or friends with the protagonist is going to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Great. So,
yeah.
yeah, I was waiting for you to in the next one.
So our next one is a symbolic character. So this is a person who brings a specific idea or theme or moral value to a story. This could be, I don't know, someone like a parent perhaps who reminds the child of some moral value or um I'm trying to think of another example. It could be even a friend, someone who grew up with your protagonist who brings that, just that moral support to the story.
Or symbolize some kind of an idea or a theme. But in the personification of, like, the character is going to symbolize that this is the value that this character is bringing to the story. This is the moral value that is going to be just like we discussed, that for example, take a grandmother who is very kind and sweet. But there are very few grandmothers, and because they are old, and the age, and then time takes them away from us, uh, symbolizing how, with time, the society is losing the value of kindness and the value of being nice to each other. That could be something, uh, or we can think of multiple examples for that.
Yeah, I think that moral support or that idea can actually come from anywhere, really. Be from any of the characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And then lastly, we have your narrator who tells the story, and who doesn't participate in it necessarily. They simply tell the story.
Yes, they don't necessarily have to, but they might, or and because they could, because they can. Yes, and that pretty much sums up the video that we had on characters. We hope that you liked it, and thank you very much for sticking till the end. We will see you in the next one.
Thank you, everybody.